The U.S. thinks this is an opportunity to finally reach that ceasefire agreement. Does it feel like that is more likely today?
It's hard to say because American officials have been pushing for a ceasefire for the better part of a year now and have failed to secure one. And I think the Biden administration was really looking at this as a legacy issue. In recent months, and in particular the past few weeks, when people didn't even know whether Sinwar was alive or not, they were effectively saying Hamas had walked away from the negotiation table. And at the same time, Israel was expanding a new conflict into southern Lebanon with strikes on Beirut and moving ground troops across the border. So this, to some degree, does remove someone who was a real obstacle to a ceasefire in Gaza. But at the same time, the administration is still dealing with a live and escalating conflict in Lebanon. So at the end of the day, if they're looking for peace in the Middle East, there was grander ambitions for a broader, peace plan that saw a Palestinian state, Saudi-Israel normalization. All that stuff feels very far away right now. They've eliminated a terrorist leader. They'd already eliminated the Hezbollah leader earlier. But now there's no one to negotiate with again, and there could be chaos within Hamas for weeks to come. So it's not clear exactly where we end up at the other end of this, other than Israel, to some degree, being able to take a win and maybe relieve a little bit of the domestic pressure that's pushing the war forward on their end.
Ian, we just heard from the president for the first time on this. Joe Biden was in the air when this story broke. After landing in Germany, the president talked to reporters on the tarmac, had this to say following the news.
Now's the time to move on. Move toward a ceasefire in Gaza. Sure that we move in the direction that we're going to be in a position to make things better for the whole world. It's time for this war to end and bring these hostages home. So that's what we're ready to do. That's what we're going to do. And I'm sending Tony Blinken to Israel. I guess he's going in 5 days.
For our radio listeners, a bit difficult to hear the president over Air Force One. He's dispatching the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, back to the region. Ian, what does that mean in terms of the days ahead? What can the secretary bring?
Yeah, I mean, this will be his 11th trip to the region since the war started. He's been pushing all sorts of stuff on those trips, humanitarian access for Gaza, day after plans. This, I think, is a chance for the U.S. really to sort of push the Israelis towards the negotiation and ceasefire side of things at a time when Netanyahu really does seem intent on continuing to fight in Gaza and also continuing to fight in Lebanon. And you heard it from Matt Miller, the State Department spokesman today, asked whether, Netanyahu's vow to sort of continue fighting conflicted with Biden's message to end the war, to wind it all down. He said, look, we've never thought you could end this all by fighting. You need to have some sort of diplomatic, negotiated solution to this. You don't get an enduring peace by, military pressure alone. And so I think that speaks to some degree to the tension that still exists between the U.S. and Israel on this. It still does seem that the U.S. and Biden in particular want a ceasefire more than Netanyahu does. So we'll see exactly what, Blinken can bring to this.
There's also the question of Iran, Ian. It's two of its proxies have had their leadership eliminated now by Israel. How is that likely to change the behavior we're seeing coming out of Tehran, and whether we could see any retaliation directly, as we saw just a few weeks ago?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think Haniya, the political head of Hamas, was taken out in Iran proper, during the inauguration of the new president in Iran, and so that was dealt with, I think, a lot more seriously than this one is. It's hard to tell, right, what the calculation will be. Iran, experts say generally is fine to fight to the last proxy, but is not willing to kind of sacrifice its own people, its own soldiers, and that sort of thing. So we'll see exactly, there was questions from the early days of the conflict, how much Iran knew about what Sinwar was up to, what they were orchestrating on October 7th, whether they knew exactly the scale and intent of what was planned. And I think the U.S. had generally settled on the idea that Iran didn't know exactly what Sinwar was up to, so how much Iran is going to want to retaliate for this is up in the air. And I think it's obviously at the moment in the grand scheme of tit-for-tat retaliation between Israel and Iran. Everyone's waiting on Israel's strike now. Everyone's waiting for Israel to hit back at Iran for the last ballistic missile attack that Iran launched. So, and people are hoping that that will go off without the need for more retaliation. So I'm not 100% sure that Iran right now is going to be wanting to provoke Israel even more.
An important day to have our expert on diplomacy with us, Bloomberg's Iain Marlow. Thank you so much, Iain, for the time. Earlier today, as we turn our attention to the campaign trail where this is resonating, at a campaign stop in Milwaukee, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke directly about the news coming out of the Middle East. Here she is.
This moment gives us an opportunity to finally end the war in Gaza. And it must end such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination. And it is time for the day after to begin, without Hamas in power.
Joining us now, Bloomberg's Saleha Mohsin at the table in Washington. Saleha, welcome. The Vice President talks about an opportunity. This is one for her on a political level as well, if only to appear presidential. Those optics we just saw are important.
Absolutely. I thought it was interesting how closely she was reading from what was written because it is such a contentious issue. And she does not have the certainty from the Arab Muslim population, particularly in Michigan, that she really needs in order to win.
Well, and we saw her last night in an interview on Fox addressing, in part, the situation in the Middle East, how she was in the Situation Room the last time Iran tried to attack Israel directly. But the fact of the matter is she was on Fox for that conversation, Saleha. And Fox said today it was their most viewed interview of 2024. More than 7 million people tuned in live, knowing she was trying to reach a group of voters that she doesn't necessarily automatically have in her corner. What does that signal about her effort?
I mean, for one thing, it was a spicy interview. Her and Brett Baier interrupting each other, stern exchanges. They were both trying to make sure their cases were made and their points were taken. It does show that Harris is making a very targeted effort to get the Republicans who don't want to vote for Trump and aren't sure about her. There's a lot of people like Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney, who have now said, and 100 other Republicans who have served the country, signed letters, made public statements to say, we support Kamala Harris. I think she's going after them, but also she's making a very complicated case to say, generally, she's trying to say, I'm like Biden, but I'm not. And that comes down to different policies. But she made the mistake last week of saying on The View that, oh, I agree with every decision that he's made. And she kind of had to backtrack in her interview with Fox to say, I'm not going to run my administration just exactly the way Biden is. I'm different.